This is Buckeye legend Mike Tomczak, and you're listening to OVE Podcast. It's Ohio versus everyone. Subscribe, like, listen, and follow, and don't forget your comments. Here's the show, and remember to always wash your B-A-L-L-S.
Right, Mike Tomczak. Always wash your balls, everybody. Let's do it. Let's start the show on a Friday.
Fill me in. The BALLS. What is that all about?
Balls, wash your balls.
I know. What?
You don't know the Krenzel story? 2002, Buckeyes are in the tunnel, national championship game. Tress calls up Mike Tomczak, says, hey, I want you to talk to the team. Mike Tomczak talks to the team. Team's ready to run through a wall for Mike Tomczak, ready to take the field. Then Mike Tomczak says, listen, guys, shut up. Everybody listen. If you remember one thing from today, just one thing, always wash your balls. And that was it. Then they took the field. True story, according to Craig Krenzel.
Wow.
That's why we're telling you, wash your balls. Mike Tomczak telling you folks, just like he told the 2002 national title team to wash their balls, you wash your balls. We are the OVE Podcast. I'm the Torg, QFM 96 morning. Sam Grooms, hurt at work or in an accident, let attorney Robert Schuerger go to war for you at warforyou.com. Remember the new channel. Once you subscribe, like, follow, share, hit that thumbs up button. It's amazing how many people subscribe to this show and do not hit that like button. Hit it. Let's do it. Let's subscribe. Let's go. New channel. Appreciate you. Did you stay up and watch that hockey game last night?
The second I saw the puck hit McDavid's stick, I go, I told you so.
What do you mean?
How do you not guard 97? Somebody want to fill me in?
You know who was at fault, right?
I know exactly who was at fault.
Who?
It's the same guy's knob they were slobbing all freaking week saying he's been playing great defense. He's there to score goals, mind you, but he's been playing great defense, and then he leaves 97 on the freaking doorstep.
I think he sucked all tournament. I called him out on social media. I think Austin Matthews has sucked all tournament. I think he sucked because the thing is he hasn't been scoring goals. So if that's on your team, and I don't think he had played good defense, if you follow that play, Canada had the puck around the boards, and there was a defenseman on him, and there was a defenseman up top blocking the pass to the defenseman on the top. I'll say like top of the circle, right? And so that defenseman, if that player were to cut inside, that player had both the passing lane and the player if he tried to move inside on the ice. Austin Matthews, for some reason, left his man, didn't cover his man, which was Connor McDavid, and started to follow the guy with the puck, even though there were two other people in position to take out that defender. Austin Matthews made a boneheaded play. When you are playing in a championship game, NHL regular season game, or NHL playoff game, you have to be aware of your surroundings on the ice and who's on the ice at the time. When you are in overtime and Connor McDavid is on the ice, you do not let him free because that is your guy. The game was lost because of Austin Matthews. Right? There was a good game.
I was laying there too, and I go, after you had that first 4 or 5 minute flurry in overtime where it looked like the United States was getting the best opportunities they had all game, and you're hitting crossbars, or Bennington's coming across and throwing the glove and snagging one out of midair, like you knew at that point, like if you can't put any of those home, you're going to lose this game, and that's exactly what happened, unfortunately.
Yeah, good game. One thing I'll point out, Matthew Tkachuk, you're selfish. You were selfish. You knew you couldn't go. You went anyway. You played 6 minutes. We could have called someone up to play. Was it Kyle Connor was the guy who didn't play? They played Chris Kreider. Kyle Connor, good player, didn't have a great series, but he could have played. But what you did is you made other people huff ice time and play more ice time in an overtime game. Listen, I get it. I put on X last night, if you put a grizzly bear in a Canadian jersey, the Tkachuk boys would wrestle with that bear. I get wanting to go out there and playing and giving it a go, but everything's on the line. Everything's on the line for this game. We had Gabranson in studio, and we can get to that and of what he said. No one was playing this game like an exhibition. The guys who don't check, oh, Canada's not hitting hard. Well, those guys don't check anyway. They don't check in the regular season. So ignore that. But guys were hitting. The guys who do hit. It was I tell you what, Drew Doherty is going to be sore today. Guys are going to be sore today. Charlie McAvoy's out for the season. Matthew Tkachuk, I bet he might be out for the season. Maybe back for the playoffs. But I think it was selfish because he knew he wasn't even close to 100%, probably not 50%. And you went anyway. You played like 2 shifts, 3 shifts, and you screwed us.
I'm not a rocket scientist or some kind of physical therapist or anything, but what I do know, the groin is probably a little bit important when it comes to playing ice hockey, where you're on a 1/4-inch blade of steel between you and an ice surface. Going out on a limb saying the groin, if it's sore or if it's pulled or anything like that, probably going to hinder your ability to skate. So if you're at 25, 35, 50% capacity, and you've got a guy that is legit also an all-star on the bench, you might, as much as I understand the bravado of a hockey player, but you have to put yourself, you have to put that bravado aside and use your brains a little bit. And guess what? That falls on the coaching staff just as much as does Matthew Tkachuk. And you could tell that team last night was hurting without Tkachuk being out there. Like, have you ever seen, can I ask you a question speaking of Tkachuk? Have you ever seen somebody that enjoys going in and stirring shit up and hitting people more than Brady Tkachuk does?
There are different guys in the league who like it, but yeah, he's the poster.
He's the guy that would walk down the street in New York City and just smack guys on their way back and just laugh and keep walking.
Oh, he's got a screw loose.
Absolutely. Screw loose. I also think he looks like who did I say he looks like from the Goonies?
Chunk's friend. Hey, you guys.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, baby Ruth.
Yeah, I don't know who that guy is though.
Give me a minute.
You Googling it?
Shit.
Yeah, I mean that was one of those cases where sloth. They have more talent than us. We're more physical. We had the better goaltending. We were just banged up and hurt. I can't wait for next year when they play in the Olympics. I think we're caught up to them. I think we're just as good as them because of the style of play we play. And I would love to see a fully healthy Team USA in the Olympics take on Canada because now the Russians are going to have a say in this, but I would really like to see this. Remember, they beat us once. We beat them once. The problem is when they beat us, it was for all the marbles and it was for overtime. They're not ahead of us as much as you would like to think. If Matthew Tkachuk is healthy, maybe that game's different. If Charlie McAvoy's healthy, I think that game's different. It woulda, coulda, shoulda, whatever. Don't make excuses. They beat us. But I'm interested to see this rematch when we are at full health. That's what I want to see. I want to see both teams healthy because they were healthy for the finals. We were not. Love to see, and remember this too. Quinn Hughes did not play. That's another American player, a defenseman that we would have, one of the top guys in the league. He's banged up. There was a lot of rumors about him coming to play. He's not ready to play. So it'll be interesting next year when we get a few guys back and they are back with their team, same exact team. We'll be back with some added pieces. We're not at the point, Sam. We used to be at a point with NHL hockey where our fourth line used to be like fourth liners. Now on our fourth line, our first line guys, just like Canada. I mean, Dylan Larkin, who's a first line guy, the captain of Detroit, is a fourth line player on our team. So yeah, do they have the better players? Yeah, Connor McDavid's awesome. Sidney Crosby, stop. Sidney Crosby's a great player, but he's not Sidney Crosby of 2015. All right. I almost think it's a liability for Canada to put McKinnon, McDavid, and Crosby. That's because they are honoring Crosby. He's not one of the top 3 players in the league. Still a great player. He's not one of the top 3 players in the league.
So you saw it in this tournament in both games. The U.S. is a far more physical team, as we've kind of already covered. But what that does is that allows them to kind of neutralize the skill and the speed of some of these guys, McKinnon, McDavid, Crosby, basically the attackers of Canada. But where the United States is catching up is, I don't know that I'm not going to say the United States has always been more physical. There's been some absolute goons come through Canada. For Christ's sake, they invented the game. Like, don't get me wrong. But I keep wanting to say Ohio State. The United States is far more physical, but where you're starting to see us creep up is our guys they're not quite McDavid. They're not quite McKinnon or McCarr, but they're getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, Zach Werenski's a star in the making. Was it Dylan Faber? Is that his first name?
Brock Faber.
Brock Faber is a freaking dude. And
he's
on the broadcast
young.
and on the broadcast last night, and you for the last 2 weeks have just been slobbing the knob of Jacob Slavin. Like, those guys are absolute dudes. So yeah, I mean, it was a great game last night. I do think going a man down, losing a guy that was as talented, like that line was buzzing when Matthew was healthy. But you're right, man. Like, you have to set yourself and your pride aside and realize that you got to tap out and say, hey, man, like, I am not going to make this team better with the injury that I have. And you have to know that. And unfortunately, I think it cost the United States last night big.
Yeah, and two guys. Jack Hughes, play better. You had a bad series. You weren't good. Austin Matthews, you weren't good. Your top dogs got to be your top dogs. And
the only thing I'll say about Austin Matthews is he's been out. He was out for a prolonged period of time this year. So he's still kind of getting his sea legs. But you're right. He also has the proclivity to clam up in big games.
Yep.
I mean, that whole Toronto Maple Leaf team does that. So yeah, man, you gotta step up.
But those guys got to be better. Those guys have to be better in these big games if you want to win. And I know that when you put on the sweater, it doesn't matter. They're ready to go. This isn't, by the way, let's get this out of the way real quick. And this is numbskulls. I'm going to talk about stupid people here. Donald Trump did not make this series political. What made it political was numbskull Canadians booing our national anthem and not realizing that Donald Trump doesn't. Not everything revolves around Donald Trump. Dim-witted Canadians were mad and booed the U.S. team. Got news for you. Trump doesn't play hockey. And not everything in the world's related to Donald Trump. You have issues if you think that, and many people do. There has nothing to do with USA Hockey and Donald Trump outside of he's the president of the country they represent. He's not skating. But then in Nashville, they booed that anthem. Then the Canadians did it again. The Canadians made it political by booing our anthem. And you know who else made it political? The kingdom of TDS. The people who go online every day and post Trump this, Trump that, Trump. I don't care if you do that. But you made it political by bringing Trump into it. If you ask those players about Trump, they liked the phone call from the president, but it wasn't political for them. And it wasn't political for Team Canada. The media, the dummy fans in Montreal, and the dummy TDS people on the internet who think the world revolves around Trump because you hate him so much and I got to post 20 times a day. You made it political. And by the way, kudos real quick to wrap this up. Boston fans, kudos to you because you booed lightly, not loudly, lightly for 12 seconds. I recorded and I put it back on social media. 12 seconds, you lightly booed the anthem, and then you shut up. The Canadian fans were not classy. They booed our anthem all the way through. So, Boston, I thought you were going to be goats. Kudos to you, clap, because you were classy.
I will say this. I think that was probably a scenario last night that if you're in the stands and you're a fan, you probably would hear the guy standing next to you or in front of you start to boo, and then you kind of like all look at him or smack him in the back of the head and get him to shut up. Like it seemed like it was that you had a couple idiots booing, but then predominantly the majority of the fans there were like, hey, don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
So, you will not hear this out of me very often. Kudos, Boston fans.
Absolutely. I thought they were great. And there is an element to everybody thinking, I don't care what you do, but there are people in this, and I got into it with a guy today. There are people who think the world revolves Trump, 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 Trump. Let's post stuff. Dude, it's sickness. Donald Trump has nothing to do with this team. He's not wearing a sweater. I was talking about Gabranson because Jerry brought up to Gabranson today in the studio about it being political. And Gabranson said it's not political. It's an international game. Anytime we wear the sweater of our country, we're riled up, and we haven't played in 9 years. We want to prove that we're the best. He's a Canadian, and the USA wants to prove that they're the best. And it's a country and it's a pride thing. It's not political. It's about guys doing battle, representing their country. And like PK Subban said, hockey players lay it on the line and basketball players are pussies, right? You hate PK Subban, you should like him after ripping all the
I thought what he said was I think he drove his point home very articulately and was not trying to piss anybody off or rile anybody up. But he wasn't wrong. Like, I'm not a big fan. I think PK Subban gets a far more. I think he's a sideshow. I think generally that's what he is, but that doesn't mean he can't be right about a particular topic every now and then. And I think both on, I think it was Get Up, and then he did it on another show. I think he was spot on both times, and he did it in what I would say is a respectful way. You know, when comparing what these NHL players, what these hockey players they go through every night in their season versus what some of these basketball players are going through. I think it was spot on.
It got political because there are people on the internet who think there could be, and rightfully so, though, Trump does interject himself when he doesn't have to, right? But you don't have to. Because he becomes a child doesn't mean you have to become a child. You know what I mean? So there could be something going on, and then someone directs it to him. He likes that. He's an egomaniac. He likes it when you tweet about him and talk about him, and the world revolves around him. So why would you do that?
Yeah, you're saying that.
Why do you spend your day talking about him?
I think it's always hilarious that people want to point out how brash Trump is and how an egomaniac he is and all this, that, and the other. He's a businessman from New York City. What in God's name did you expect him to be?
Yeah.
He you know what the hilarious thing is? He's basically the same people, especially in New York City, that make fun of him. He is essentially the exact same brash, arrogant piece of shit that you're giving that you are as somebody that's given him any kind of criticism in New York City. He just happens to, politically think there's a better way to do certain things in the government than you do. He is you with just a different worldview.
Yeah, I was trolling Canadian fans last night because I trolled.
By the way, not you. The people that are criticizing you, the ubiquitous.
I trolled Canadian fans, but it was over. Once 15 minutes after that game, and someone called me out and said, "Oh, why didn't you bring up your dislike for Canada to Gabranson?" I told him off the air, "Hey, it was fun disliking you guys for 2 weeks." And that's what I said to him. I go, "That was fun, man. You guys hated us. We hated you. And that was good." And I trolled Barstool. Barstool was trolling Americans. I wrote 51st State. You want to troll me? I'll troll you. And it's no different between that and me trolling a Michigan fan of Connor cheated. In this case, the Canadian fan hates the 51st State. So I trolled him. I trolled the Michigan fans. Connor Stallions won everything for you. No difference. You're trolling, you're trolling. Now I have no beefs. I said, once this game's over, good game, Canada won, you're the better team. Now let's move on. Now, some people can't move on because they have TDS their entire lives. It's not political. Now, we joked around in the show about it being political because it was, but it was made political by dim-witted Montreal fans and the people who have to post about Trump all day long.
Your pride in country shouldn't be political.
Nope.
Unless it's, United States versus USSR. Then there you could probably say that kind of shit creeps in. And as much as we joke about the socialists in Canada, which not entirely inaccurate,
yeah,
we're talking about pride in country. We're not talking about, economic systems that drive each nation. Like, that has nothing to do with the guys donating the sweaters and going to play. At the end of the day, the mere fact that we're still talking about an exhibition game, to me, is astounding. And we're going to talk potentially about how ESPN's kind of given the old fist to another major league as far as their rights deal, their TV rights deal. But man, there's probably going to be a little bit of a sobering feeling here in the next week or two when maybe some of these NHL franchise owners realize that they've lost guys. Charlie McAvoy, Matthew Tkachuk's probably going to be on the shelf for a while. But all in all, man, like they have to be ecstatic about the pedestal and the spotlight that was just shown on this game and its players. Because, man, I don't know that anybody's gotten more involved in an exhibition game 14 2-week tournament than what we just saw last night. So, yeah, man, the NHL nailed this. Absolutely nailed it.
One more point, too. Boston, you failed. Not with the anthem. You failed bringing the energy. If you go Saturday night and watch,
I noticed that too, man.
Yeah, they sucked. You sucked. You sucked. Montreal fans buzzing. They were down 2-1, and they were buzzing all game. Boston, you failed us.
Do you think the price of tickets maybe weeded out some of the people that would have been a little more boisterous?
What were the price of tickets?
I know there were a lot. I don't know what the price were.
I read before the game, StubHub $297, and then if Trump showed up at the game, it was going to be like $2,000, but I think it was $300 a ticket. So I don't know. I mean, I think if you're talking about USA versus Canada, is it a pricey ticket? Yes, but you pay it for Buckeye games, right? You pay $300 for a Buckeye ticket. I know I paid more than that this year.
As of Thursday afternoon, the lowest price ticket on Ticket Marketplace was $720.
Oh, okay. I was using StubHub.
Then premium seating near the rink exceeded $5,000 prior to taxes and fees.
Okay, but still bring it. If you're paying $5,000, you should yell.
I agree. I was thinking too last night. I'm like, man, this is a little atypical for Boston. It's kind of quiet, and I didn't know if it was maybe the TV they were kind of trying to drown it out or whatnot. But I was a little surprised by that too. I'm glad you brought it up.
And next time you do it, Toronto, Detroit. Don't give it to Boston. Boston, you failed. You had your chance and you failed. So
they'll go to New York before they go to Detroit.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about the proximity closer to each other because you could. Toronto and Detroit are very.
I guess. Montreal's good though because I want to say isn't that in the Bell Center the largest in the NHL, like 21,000?
I do not know the biggest.
I think it is
arena, but I mean Toronto, Detroit just makes sense because the
proximity. You're right.
There's a lot of stuff going on there. Yeah, you're right. Maybe the NA, but in a tournament format, though, do you really want the shit show of New York? The busyness of New York. You want kind of easy in, easy out travel, the hotels, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. With New York, there's a little bit more there of a shit show that you'd like to avoid. But then again, I understand what your point. The New York market, got to go to the New York market. But if that was the case, they'd probably do it this year.
Yeah, I mean, the Boston getting first dibs on that, it was a little surprising. But, I would imagine the flight time from Montreal to Boston and Montreal to New York is very similar. It's probably just an hour, right?
Right. Original 6 type thing. Yeah. Maybe. But Detroit, original 6. Toronto, original 6.
Yeah.
So there you go. I loved every bit of this. I don't think you can go back to – I know they have all-star games slated, but I don't think they could have go back. By the way, ESPN, you're trash. If you read ESPN's story of the U.S.-Canada game, here's the first line, everybody. I can't believe they would write this. There's such a pile of trash, rinky-dink, read our narrative. Everything's got to be read our narrative at ESPN. Here's the front. This is the opening line when you go to ESPN.com. When Canada played for the second time Thursday night, there were no American fans left in the arena to boo. Did you watch the effing game? Who was booing in the beginning? We told you it was 12 seconds of a small boo, and then they went away. But ESPN's narrative was, if you didn't watch the game, the Americans were booing Canada, which they didn't. It's the propaganda network, the Mia Kimes bullshit that ESPN likes to do because they want to push their narrative about what's going on. That's trash. That's trash journalism for the.
So do you think? And maybe this is tinfoil hat, or maybe this is the connection is a little harder to make. Do you think if maybe the election outcome were different than what occurred in November? Do you think that would be if exactly what happened, everything went down the way it did? Do you think that would be the tone of ESPN's coverage of this?
No, it'd be different because they were trying to tell us for 4 years how great everything was.
Completely agree.
They ignored the fact that there was stuff going on. Now, I'm all for calling out someone when there's something going wrong. I'm all for it. Just treat everybody the same. But if a guy's shaking hands with a ghost and can't function, don't tell me everything's good. And
there's supposed to be,
can't tell me everything's good.
There's supposed to be an impartiality, right? Whether it's sports journalism or if you're covering, you're a political journalist. There's supposed to be some form of impartiality, and these journalists today are more interested in driving home or supporting, holding up a narrative than they are to actually reporting things and letting the readers decide what they think about it.
Yeah, agree. Let's take a break. When we come back, Jeremiah Smith article on CBS Sports. Very interesting, Sam, because about 20 years ago, there was a case of Maurice Clarett wanting to play only 1 year of college. He won the original case, lost the appeal. But CBS Sports says, hey, maybe Jeremiah Smith should be the next guy to test the waters and go to the NFL after his freshman year. We'll talk about it in 60 seconds on the OVE podcast.
We go to war for you. At Schuerger Trial Attorneys, we don't back down. Accident? Call us today at 877-WAR-FOR-YOU or visit warforyou.com for a free consultation. Know your rights because results matter.
That's 877-WAR-FOR-YOU. 877-WAR-FOR-YOU or visit warforyou.com.
War for you. warforyou.com.
Dan Robb Management has over 40 years experience in all aspects of payroll, processing checks, tax filing, W-2 and 1099 preparation. First-time customers get 50% off their first 3 months processing fees. Give them a call now, 614-297-1158 or denrobmanagement.com. We are the OVE podcast, Ohio versus everyone. Remember, subscribe, like, follow, share, subscribe while we are live. It gets you in a drawing a awesome Ohio State Buckeyes mini helmet signed by 6 iconic Buckeye quarterbacks: JT Barrett, Cardell Jones, Craig Krenzel, Joe Germain, Rex Kern. Who am I missing? I'm missing someone. I'm always missing someone.
Cardell.
I mentioned Cardell.
Okay. Cardell, Troy Smith, Rex Kern.
Troy Smith. Boom.
There you
go. Let him live. There you go. 6 iconic quarterbacks. You have to subscribe to the show while we're on the air live. So subscribe right now and hit that little thumbs up button. Remember, we are on the web. And here's good news about our website. Join up, theovepodcast.com. The guy who won the Urban autographed helmet did not claim it last Friday. It is up for grabs. So we are going to re-give that away next week. So you got a full week to sign up again. Next Friday, we'll give away the Urban autographed helmet. Now, it's a replica helmet, but we got it from Buckeye Cruise for Cancer. It is a legit helmet. It's not fake. They don't sell a fake helmet there. I do not have a certificate for this. I bought it for charity. By the way, Buckeye Cruise is coming up this Tuesday. But if you want that Urban Meyer autographed helmet, the OVEpodcast.com. No www. Sign up and do this. There have been times where people have won and they don't confirm their email. I run the site. I don't track your email. I'm not selling it to Elon. Doge isn't going to come in and take your social security number. You have an email. You put your email in. You click, I joined. We send you an email back just to make sure you're not a bot. You hit accept. That's how it works. No one is selling your shit to anybody because I don't care. I just want to give you stuff and want you to listen to the podcast. That's what I want. Sam, this Jeremiah Smith, Dennis Dodd wrote this article earlier this week on CBS Sports. 20 years ago, we had the case of Maurice Clarett trying to go pro. He won the first round. Then he lost the appeal. And they pointed out in this article that Jeremiah Smith would be a top 10 pick, number 1 receiver pick, maybe even top 5 pick. And that at some point, how the NCAA keeps losing court cases. This is the NFL and the NFL Players Association, by the way, that came up with this ruling. But how could you have a ruling about a player who's not in the Players Association? And the thought is this is an outdated ruling. No one's challenged it for over 20 years. Times have changed in the court system. Who's going to be the next player? Because we have wild, wild west in college sports right now, college football. Sam, maybe it's not Jeremiah Smith, but at some point, are we going to see a freshman who's ready to play pro who challenges this?
Well, I think they're going to challenge it, but just as I think they have the right maybe to challenge the rule, I think the NFL is allowed to have its own criteria and rules for admittance into the league. Like, you don't have a right to enter the draft.
But I'm not involved in
understand.
your rules, though, because it's 3 years removed from high school, right? But I'm not in your union. I don't have to abide by your rules because I'm not in. That's the tricky law part. Is you're right. They can have a rule, but then my defense would be is you're not allowing me to join your sport, but yet I'm not part of your union. So how am I a part of your rules?
Well, a restaurant's allowed to withhold service from somebody. Why would a business like the NFL not be allowed to establish rules for admittance into their league? Now, the NFL could certainly come out and say, hey, we're not doing 3 years anymore, we're doing 2 years. Or we're going to do a rule like Major League Baseball does, where it's, we can draft you out of high school and you can come to our league, but if you do not, if you elect to bypass getting drafted and go to school, you have to be in school for 3 years. So I just don't, Jeremiah Smith, and I'm not saying he is out there trying to drive this home or isn't going to challenge this in the future. But to me, the NFL is allowed to establish these rules for whatever reason it is, whether it's we don't want underdeveloped kids essentially entering our league, or we want college football to essentially develop our employees for the future for 2 or 3 years. They're allowed to establish these rules and have draft eligibility rules that they currently have, even though I think Jeremiah Smith probably could have been a top 5 pick last year and be starting in the NFL at the age of 18, 19.
Herschel Walker is a guy to me after his freshman year was ready. Adrian Peterson, I think, was ready. I think there's a handful of guys who have been ready for this, haven't had the opportunity. I think Jeremiah Smith won. I just think Jeremiah Smith would be the top wide receiver in the draft. I think he'd be a top 5 guy. Someone would look at him, probably the New York Giants, maybe at 3, depending on how the draft goes. And maybe not the New York Giants, but who's picking 4, Sam? Do you know?
You sure it's not the Giants?
No, the Giants pick 3. And it wouldn't be the Giants. So that's on me.
New England.
That's who I was looking for. You're telling me the New England Patriots. Now, if Travis Hunter was there, they'll take Travis Hunter. But you're telling me at 4, the Giants wouldn't take Jeremiah Smith?
Well, no, I absolutely do. Think about this, and I guess to kind of hone in on my point. If you're the NFL right now, you essentially have a development league, whatever you want to call it, in college football. And even though Jeremiah Smith may be worth adjusting or changing the rules for going forward, that's going to disrupt. Jeremiah Smith is the freak. Jeremiah Smith is the anomaly in all this. That's going to disrupt the development system that you have currently and that has worked for the NFL for so long. So as much as the NFL would love to have a single player once a year like Jeremiah Smith be able to enter the draft prior to their 3-year in school rule, it's going to disrupt the system, the development system they currently have in place. So there's really, I don't know the value that Jeremiah Smith is going to bring to the NFL is going to anywhere near touch or overrule the value that the NCAA development college football programs are currently providing to the NFL. So you kind of you want to win the war at the end of the day if you lose a battle here or there. So the NFL is probably looking at it from that perspective, saying, listen, we've got a good thing going here. We don't need to rush this.
Yeah,
especially now that these players can be compensated in college.
Yeah, I mean, for the people go, oh, it ruined college football, and you could chime in the comments if you think freshmen should be able to leave college football. Give us your comments. Give us your thoughts. For college football, it's next man up. College football is in a constant spin because guys graduated creating new stars. So I don't think, oh, it would damage college football if a bunch of freshmen left. You would miss guys because you would count on like a hypothetical conversation here. Oh, we lost Jeremiah Smith. That's a huge loss for us. But I tell you what would happen. In the NBA, guys go like crazy, and they shouldn't. They waste their career, and they don't develop. You see 1 year, you see 18, 19-year-olds go to college, and they flame out or they don't get drafted. We see it all the time. The difference between the NFL, college, and maybe Major League Baseball is basketball has like the G League or the D League, whatever they call it, and then Europe to back up. If you allowed players, and every sport has a different rule. Sam, baseball draft is different where if you either come out of high school or you got to wait till after your sophomore year, correct? For baseball,
it's 3 years removed. It's just like the NFL, where you have to essentially be a junior in college or a
right. You can come out at high school,
or you could be drafted straight out of high school. Correct,
straight out of high school. So those are the rules there. In the NBA, it's 1 year removed, right? Some guys you've had guys go to Europe and come back. It would only take a couple guys in the NFL to think they are ready for the pros after their freshman year to not get drafted or to get drafted in the 7th round before everybody in the NFL would go, holy crap, remember Frank Burns or Frank Bafootslick, who thought he was ready to go and all the teams passed on him and now he's not doing shit, right? You wouldn't risk it because, like Sam said, you are getting paid in college. And if I could see Jeremiah Smith doing it because Jeremiah Smith's a top 5 pick. But if you have an agent in your head and you're not ready to go and you declare for the draft, say, I'll throw this out. After his sophomore year, Kyle McCord comes out. No one would touch him. And I don't know if anyone would touch him after his junior year. But people would say, oh, Kyle McCord only played 2 years of college and he came out. What a big effing mistake. No one drafted him. It would only take a few of those guys before guys would realize, yeah, I'm not doing this because I can make money here and I can't. It's a big boy league. The thing with Jeremiah Smith that makes him so different is he's a big fucking boy. You know what I mean?
And again, to me, he's the anomaly again, right? Like, think of all the NFL and these franchises right now. When they get these guys in, they aren't working on development. They're fine-tuning skills to apply to the systems that they have in place. And think of the amount of time it takes for them to do that. Yeah. If not only do you still have to do all of that, but then you have to develop these guys, they just don't. I don't think they have the time or the resources right now, and it's not a fight that they want to fight when they've already got a system in place in this amateurism or college football, whatever you want to call it. It takes basically that burden off the NFL franchises to basically go in and acutely refine these guys' abilities. So again, as much as we think, and this one person in Jeremiah Smith, as we agree, could definitely go to the league and perform, I just don't think the NFL wants to throw out the baby with the bathwater just for Jeremiah Smith when they've got this development system set up that they don't essentially have to pay a dime for.
Yeah, it's good. But boy, if I'm the NFL, I look at it and go, shit, we could have this guy for more years, right? For me, it's no skin off you're right. They develop players too. But on the other way, the other side of it is, boy, could you imagine 2 more years of Jeremiah Smith with us, of how great that's going to be? Because I think players will figure it out pretty quick of who can make it, who can't. Because you already have guys in their ear now, agents, and it's unregulated, right? Boy, do you imagine Jeremiah Smith at 18 years old and that story that could bring? I would think that would bring more attention to the NFL than negative. Adrian Peterson.
I don't think it would necessarily bring, in Jeremiah Smith's sense, I think it would bring eyeballs. But at the end of the day, I think it would be kind of passé and everybody would get used to it. I think what would bring criticism would be the guys that thought they were ready and enter the draft. And like you said, they either go undrafted or they're such a low round and they end up fizzling out after a short period of time. That's when you would start getting some of the negativity. That's when you'd get some of these pundits like the assholes at ESPN we talked about throwing shade at agents for getting into these young, youthful kids' ears and, putting this idea in their head that they could bypass college development and go straight to the NFL, because of the money that they were going to make. That's when we would start to see that I guess that attention be drawn to the NFL. But again, I don't think the NFL has they're certainly not in a hurry to make any changes in this regard, just because a guy like Jeremiah Smith could probably survive and thrive in the NFL.
Yeah, U.S. Football League, is that what it's called? They allow players to come out now and play, but no one took him up on it.
It's the UFL, United Football League. Is that
Or
right?
is it UFL? Is it UFL?
It was the XFL and USFL joined forces. I think it's the United Football League.
Okay, UFL. The UFL allows that if you wanted to play. I really think at some point pro football is going to have a spring type league where they can develop players and have minor league. The problem with UFL and why XFL doesn't work is because it's not an NFL product. That's why. It's not done the right way. NFL tried NFL Europe 20 years ago, 25 years ago. It didn't work. One, it's in Europe, and it's not an American thing. I could see them going back to it now and then making it work. But you're right, Sam. Why does the NFL need to do that? Because we already have a system in college football. But let me point this out. College football is making a lot of money. Could the NFL take a piece of that pie and, all right, college players, let's take the top stars of college players, college guys, put them in our league, and they could be kind of in a quote-unquote minor league, and they're our guys, and we can make money off it. Why are we letting college football make money when we can make the money?
Yeah,
the problem is then you're competing on a contractual, I don't know how to say it. Contractual scale where you can't compete. Yeah. Meaning that, are you really going to pay a Bryce Underwood $15 million if you're the NFL? Hell no. You're going to let the college game pay him and then develop, and you're going to take him away.
Yeah, I think the NFL wants, the NFL right now is riding high, and they could, as far as production of entertainment or games, could throw a leather boot at us, and I think the public would generally just eat it up. So I would imagine that the NFL right now is not looking to make a bunch of big changes. They kind of want to refine some things acutely. But again, if you're the NFL, don't disrupt the apple cart. You literally have a system in place right now that is developing your future employees for essentially free. So you don't need to really screw with it a whole lot.
Yeah. I think Jeremiah is one of those rare guys, Jeremiah Smith. If you go back, I think probably Maurice Claret obviously could play after his freshman year, but there's not too many guys who have been ready to play in the NFL and make an impact. I'm sure guys after their freshman year could play in the NFL. But I'm talking about making an impact.
Wasn't there a wide receiver from SC that challenged very shortly thereafter Claret or with Claret? Was it Mike Williams, Mike Adams, Mike something?
I don't know.
It was right around the same time.
I don't recall.
That's going to bother me.
Mike Williams is a wide receiver with the Jets last year, and I think he maybe played for the Steelers.
Yeah, it was right around the same time. I can't remember who it was. It doesn't matter.
Mike Adams was a safety.
It was Mike Williams. So Mike Williams, right around the same time, also challenged the NFL draft rules, trying to go from USC to get into the draft early. There were two Mike Williams.
Not the Clemson Mike Williams.
Correct. Yeah, this guy was an SC guy 20 years ago.
And what happened to him?
I think he did end up getting into the league maybe a year or two after, like when he was normally eligible. And he played a few years, but he wasn't, not a Hall of Famer or anything, right?
Yeah. Let's take a quick break. When we come back. Who is making the mistake? A sport is leaving ESPN. Ask the NHL how it worked for them. We're back. 60 Seconds OVE podcast. Hey, it's Torg for Custom Air. You know, when it comes to my HVAC system, I don't trust just anyone. I trust Custom Air. These guys are fast, reliable, and they know their stuff. Fall's just around the corner, and now's the perfect time to make sure your HVAC equipment is running at its best. Don't wait until it's too late. Get ahead of the game. I wouldn't trust anyone else with my home, and neither should you. Visit them on the web at customairco.com and keep your home comfortable all season long. Custom solutions, custom comfort, Custom Air. Thinking of buying or selling a home? Give Lauren Torgerson a call with Next Home Experience. Lauren has been servicing the Columbus metropolitan area for 10 years. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, considering building, want to upsize or downsize, Lauren can help you with all your real estate needs. Get a free market analysis for your area and get started working on making tomorrow's dreams happen today. Call or text Lauren at 614-296-3952, 614-296-3952, or email at torgersonlauren@gmail.com. We are the OVE podcast, Ohio versus everyone. The Torg, Hear Me Mornings, QFM 96, Sam Grooms. Subscribe, like, follow, share, hit that little thumbs up button for us. Appreciate it. That's how the show grows. Sam, did you see, to go back to the first segment, the trophy that they won for the Four Nations?
No.
Oh, dude, it's so cool. It's like as big as the Stanley Cup, but it's got handles on the side, and it's like a cup. Like you can.
Oh, I did see it. They had it behind.
Awesome
they had it behind
that?
the guys leading up to pregame.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. They've done everything right. Is baseball doing everything right? What's the deal with ESPN and Major League Baseball?
So basically what had happened is it sounded like ESPN has obviously been showing less baseball. They've been promoting baseball less and less, and has essentially came to Major League Baseball asking for a reduction of the rights fees to obviously broadcast Major League Baseball and their games. Baseball said, wait, you're promoting our game less and less. You're not, essentially living up to the obligations of the rights that you've purchased from us. And now you're coming and saying you want less. You want us to charge you less for that? Nah, I think we'll just go ahead and after the 2025 season, cancel our agreement, have our mutual opt-out. And essentially Major League Baseball and its games are going to be a free agent for some other network or streaming service.
You think that's good?
I think it's great.
You do? Why?
A couple of reasons. One, I think the ESPN model is dying. I don't know that you've necessarily had any other single network step up to replace them. But I do think in the near future, you're going to see streaming services like Amazon, like Apple, like Netflix start to get into these types of agreements more and more. And honestly, if Major League Baseball was picked up by Amazon, I think that would be a huge win because they've already got the infrastructure in place. It would be very easy to watch these games, and it would continue to watch, further ESPN withering on the vine.
I like that. One thing, will it make more money for Major League Baseball? Yes, because streaming services want to get involved. If I am Major League Baseball, though, I tie this in with the Players Association, say, hey, we're going to make this move. We got to do the salary cap because shit's going to get out of hand if they make more money. Then the Dodgers are going to have a $500 million payroll. To me, this is a perfect time for Major League Baseball to sit down with the Players Association and say, listen, we are going to make historic revenue here if we go to a streaming site. Meet us halfway. You're going to make money. We're going to make this work with you. But we got to have some type of salary cap structure, or we can't do this deferred contract shit that the Dodgers are doing. I think more than ever, you want owners that want a salary cap because the Dodgers are just saying, screw you. We're going to do everything and defer everything.
I think the salary cap's going to be a big part of it, but I also think you need to have like a revenue split or share model like the NFL does, where the NFL takes all of the money it gathers and splits it up evenly amongst all its teams. Like where in baseball, it's very regional, where you have Nesson and Yesson in New York and Boston, where these teams essentially can go out and create their own network, and some have failed, some haven't, but they essentially are able to bring in way more money for these deals. If they centralize the broadcast rights of all games in one spot, I think then you can make a true argument saying, listen, we need to pool all revenue, whether it's from the, basically everything that is not ticket sales, concession sales, those types of things that are centralized in the ballpark. But as far as broadcast rights, all of that, if you can pool the money and every team gets an even split of that, I think you will start to see baseball become far more like the NFL, where there's some parity in the league and it's encouraged year to year. You're obviously
sport does that, though. No sport shares their local broadcast right revenue.
Well, I mean, the NFL does it not?
Yeah, but that's because there's only one game a week and you can get away with that model.
They could, maybe it's a hybrid. I'm saying if they go that direction, you'll see more parity in the league, which is ultimately, at the end of the day, in my opinion, good for the league and it's good for the viewer.
I think it's getting away from ESPN is good because they're going to make more money. Why wouldn't you? If I was the commissioner of baseball, and my job is not, listen, folks, if you think the job of the commissioner is to like run, it's the integrity of the league, you're mistaken. The job of the commissioner is to make more money for the owners. Fine, that is his job. Trust me. This is finding more money for the owners. What I don't like about it is the eyeball factor. It's kind of a game that's dying in a little bit where it's not getting the younger viewer. Maybe going to Netflix or going to Amazon Prime builds it. Maybe it doesn't. That's the thing. NHL, effed around and found out that leaving ESPN for a little bit more money wasn't the right idea because we had less eyeballs on our product. Will that be the same for baseball? It'll be interesting to see, because if I'm the NBA and the NFL, I can sit back and go, okay, let's see what this model, if it works for baseball, because maybe we want to do this model as well, but let's have baseball screw it up first and figure out the errors, and then we can take it from there, if you know what I mean, Sam, right?
No, absolutely.
Baseball make the mistakes.
There's something, too, that I wanted to bring up, and Clay Travis made a good point on this regarding kind of where ESPN is right now in lieu of this Major League Baseball thing. He basically put out, this was a tweet of his, ESPN ended its relationship with Major League Baseball yesterday, saying $550 million yearly rights fees were too expensive. So in 2026, baseball's off the network for good. If $550 million is too much for Major League Baseball, how bad is ESPN's $2.6 billion a year deal for the NBA? Worst deal in sports TV history. Think about that. The NBA right now in domestic markets or national markets is declining quick now and in a hurry. The ESPN paid $2.6 billion for the Titanic.
Yeah.
And they're bitching and moaning about $550 million for a sport that provides a lot more entertainment, a lot more games to be viewed and consumed. I think that's a big deal.
No, I think you're right. They had a horrible deal, and now they're paying for it. Spot on. He's spot on that.
Completely agree. And you know what? It is fun watching ESPN's demise. What used to be fun, revolutionary in a way, as far as a sports network, became this woke BS monolith where we talked about sports journalists earlier pushing narratives versus actually reporting what's happening and letting us decide. It's funny watching that ship go down.
It's always, I don't mind the behind the scenes kind of TMZ talk in sports because I think it's always going to be there. The problem is ESPN made it political and started taking political sides. And then if you had a viewpoint that was not the narrative from ESPN, you were fired. Sage Steele, Kurt Schilling, not my favorite guy in the world. I'm not going to defend anything he's done. I'm just saying, if you were perceived to be a right winger, you were fired from ESPN. I think that's wrong. I hate judging people because of your political views. I don't judge people. I don't care what you believe in. Sometimes maybe you should take a nice little med and have a drink, and that's both sides. But it is what it is. But I don't care what your political opinion is. I judge you on the person you are.
Well,
but
ESPN
got Disney. Disney is dying on the vine right now.
Sports is supposed to be the escape of real reality, right? Like it's where it's at the end of the day, you've had a long day, you've worked, hopefully busted your ass, you got family you're dealing with. Sports is supposed to be the escape from reality, whether it's just your everyday life, politics, whatever. ESPN thinks that now they have to be the social conscience of society, and that's chicken shit. That's not your role. Stay in your lane, ESPN.
Agree. Did I tell you what happened to me this morning? I didn't. My Tesla's in the shop, and they gave me a Tesla rental, right? Gave me a Tesla rental, and it's a little older, but I kind of like it. I think I'm a bad car owner because like this older car drives better than mine and is like cleaner. I like it. So I'm in this rental and I go to Speedway and I lock it for the first time. And when I tried to unlock it, remember this is early in the morning, I'm wearing this hoodie. Are we wearing the same hoodie, by the way?
No, probably not.
Oh, you're not wearing the OVE hoodie?
No.
Okay.
No, not today.
So I have not wore a winter coat outside in, honest to God, 10 years. I just don't do winter coats. So I'm outside in the key fob. You get this little credit card thing with Tesla, and it wasn't working. It wasn't working. And I'm doing everything. I'm moving it around, flipping it around. And I'm trying to get a hold of Tesla through the app. No one's answering me. Like, hey, I got a rental. It's not working. I can't get in. I text the station. Jerry jumps in to give me a ride, but he doesn't tell me, right? I finally realize, hey, I'm going to hook this up and try to hook up this car to my phone because it's kind of on my phone, but it's not in sync. So then I sync it up to my email, sync it up to my text number, my phone, and then it says to sync phone, put in Bluetooth. So then I put it in Bluetooth and I got started. But there was about 20 minutes today where I thought I was going to be stranded at a speedway in a Tesla in 15 degrees. It sucked. And the guy from Speedway is a big listener. He was going to close up Speedway to give me a drive to work.
It could have been worse. You could have had it parked at one of the gas pumps and trying to figure out where the gas nozzle goes.
Oh, I know who did that.
By the way, I did look it up. This Mike Williams guy I was referencing earlier was drafted in the first round, 10th overall by the Detroit Lions in 2005.
Oh, that Mike Williams. Yes.
He had about a 6-year career. And I guess now works in construction and is in player development and coaching down in Tampa, Florida.
Hey, is the one final thing, is this Cubs pitcher, is it Cody Petit, the guy they got for Cody Bellinger? I think it's P-O-T-E-E-T, Cody Petit.
Okay.
He's the first player. He's in a spring training game. He challenged the ump. Do you know what they're doing this year? They're trying to do
with
that.
The strike challenge.
Yeah. He was the first player ever. He thought it was a strike. You tap your head, and that means you won a review, and it turns out the ump was wrong, and he got the strike. It's called the automatic ball and strike system for the first time. They're doing it in spring training. They've done it in the minor leagues for several years. Instead of robots calling every pitch, teams can challenge 2 calls per game with the ability to retain a successful challenge. Only the pitcher, catcher, or hitter can challenge a call and can't get help from the dugout. You got to tap your head.
If we're going to do that, why don't we just have the system call them? All of them, get it right. It is, as much as I like the human element in sports and having referees and umpires, if we're going to go this direction for challenges, why don't we just do it for every call? That way every freaking call is right.
You know what I like, though, about baseball is I hate the DH rule. I liked when the National League there was some strategy in the National League, right? You know what else I like too, though, is if a ump is giving you the outside corner and you're hitting that outside, I like that because both teams, he's calling it both ways. Rarely you see an ump not calling an outside or inside strike for both teams, right? I mean, sometimes you see a player, a top pitcher, get a call that maybe the other guy wouldn't get, but for the most part, if the ump is giving you the outside corner, he's giving it to you for both teams. And then the hitter's got to figure it out. But I kind of like that maybe it's a little outside the strike zone, but the pitchers figure it out that the ump is giving him that and that the hitter has to readjust knowing that the ump is giving him that outside strike. I kind of like that strategic part of the game. When you do the robot ump, it takes that away. Not that there's anything wrong with that because they're actually calling the true rules of baseball. I just like strategy in baseball, and they're kind of taking that away. I hate the damn shift. I know they've helped a little bit about that, but I hated the damn shift.
So did I.
Hated everything about it because to me, is if you were a good hitter, you would adjust.
Agreed.
Make them pay.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like I like the idea of the strategy. I liked having essentially the DH in one league and pitchers hitting in another. With you, it added a layer of difference, and each game and each team would approach it differently. But the one thing that really just grinds my gears about baseball now is how it's basically you're teaching and developing these guys to hit it 500 feet or strike out. Like, give me, and obviously we talk about the anomaly of Jeremiah Smith. Give me more guys that have the approach like Tony Gwynn, where get on base, get some singles, doubles, and you're batting career 330. Like, that's dead.
Billy Ball.
If there's a 300 hitter in the Major League Baseball, you want to talk about an anomaly. Like, give that guy the MVP today, where back in the day, like, guys were hitting 330, 340 pretty regularly.
Yeah, 350 to win MVP. Hitting 360. Yeah, that just doesn't happen anymore. It's 246, 15 home runs and 64 RBI.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's weak.
The game is in a weird spot, but like society, like the bell bottoms that were big in the 60s and 70s, they'll come back at some point. Major League Baseball and the approach the pendulum will swing back to that style of game, the small ball game, get them on, get them over, get them in kind of approach.
I hope the Reds do it this year.
I know I was pretty big on the Reds last year, and obviously they had a bunch of injuries. There's a lot of people thinking they can make some noise if they stay healthy this year.
I think Terry Francona brings them 7 wins.
Oh God, have you watched the series on Netflix? When I had the flu last week, I watched in one day the 2003, 2004, 2004, 2000. It was 2003, 2004. Basically talking about the Red Sox Yankees rivalry in those 2 years, where the Red Sox they lose on the Aaron Bleep Boone, Tim Wakefield home run in extras. And then the next year, the Red Sox come back down from 3-0 to finally break the curse. It's pretty cool. I would recommend it.
I hate the Yankees.
Oh, the reason why I like the Red Sox is because I hate the Yankees.
I mean, I hate the Yankees.
The only thing that kind of sucked, and this should surprise probably nobody at all, Manny Ramirez not readily available for interviews for this show.
By the way, last thing we'll leave you with here, the Attorney General Pam Bondi is going to release the Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy lists. Hey, LeBron, how you doing?
I wonder if he's gone 0 dark 30 on his socials yet. Like he seems to always do when bad PR is about to break for the old king.
That is not good news for him, by the way.
It's not good news for a lot of people.
No. Marchenko and Boone Jenner have been activated by the Blue Jays. I was talking to Branson today, and he said, I can't tell you who, but there's going to be guys you don't think are ready that are going to come out soon, and guys you think are ready that won't be coming soon.
I would say Yegor's one that's kind of out there. They're not sure what's going on with him. But I saw when we were at the rodeo, obviously it was a nationwide, and they had people on the camera. Marchie and his you could see Marchenko and his wife or girlfriend sitting there at the rodeo.
Talking to Gabranson today about, do you want to add someone at the trade deadline? They don't. He was mentioning that this locker room is so good and so gel. He said it would have to be the right guy, that we don't want changes. We just want to get healthy. And I asked him on the air today, like, is it just the coach? And he goes, yeah. He goes, yeah, Don coming in, but the coach. And that he gave us direction. We listened to him. The locker room's completely different. And yeah, the coach changed everything.
Isn't it amazing that you hire somebody that knows what the hell they're doing?
Yeah.
That things turn around.
Yeah. And he doesn't.
Crazy.
They don't want anyone to leave. Those guys in the locker room don't want anyone to leave. I get it. But I get it too. Right
and I do agree with him in the sense that you don't need to go out and make a move just for the sake of making a move. If you can go out and make your squad better both now and in the future, I'm all for it. But you're ahead of the game right now. You're ahead of where you were probably expected to be. Don't disrupt the app. Don't blow your wad. Don't disrupt the apple cart.
Well, one thing you could do is I'm really tired of kind of the waiting thing, right? One thing you could do is you can get a guy who, let's say, has a $6 million contract for like 3 years, and a team wants the ability to make moves in the off season, and that contract is there for multiple 2-3 years, right? I could see the Blue Jackets making a move there because I am a little tired of this rebuild wait gain, and there are guys on this team who are not going to be here next year. There will be. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem getting a top 6 winger and not going all in, but you have that pick by Minnesota. Minnesota's really good. It's not going to be a great pick. If you can bring a guy who's going to be a staple of your team for the next 2 or 3 years, you got to do it because you can only have so many prospects.
Yeah, don't leverage for rentals. And I think Waddell's already.
I don't think they're going to.
And I agree. And I'm stressing your point. If you can go out and get somebody that's going to be a productive player for you for a few years, do it. Absolutely. Especially if, let's use a guy like Ivan Provorov who says he wants to be here. But if you're in negotiation and you guys are way off on numbers, go out and leverage that. And then hopefully, if he likes Columbus enough, he can come back in free agency. But in the meantime, you're able to go out and get something for him right now because I think you get another first-round draft pick for him.
I think you're right. And I think there might be a situation, I'd hate to lose him because you need a defenseman down the stretch.
I think he's a solid player.
He's a really solid player. Now Gabranson coming back. He says he's going to be ready mid-March, but they're different players.
Oh, absolutely.
Really different players.
Goody's a space eater. He's probably a second at best, maybe probably third pairing.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that's going to come in, beat some guys up, eat up some space. But Provorov is probably your probably your second line guy. Could play top line minutes with Werenski. He's got some history there. So, and he's just a good. We don't talk about him enough because he's being a good defenseman. If you don't talk about defensemen, they're probably doing their job.
Yeah, absolutely. So. But could you imagine 3 first-round picks next year? To me, you could always use those in the draft and get quality players.
And my guess is what they'll do is they'll leverage that for something else. They'll turn around and ship those off because
you would hope.
I don't think the Blue Jackets are in the position where they need that amount of draft capital coming, talent coming in with those picks.
Yeah, I just don't know the whole. I think there's enough. I think Athletic had them ranked the 6th best farm system. You can't keep going down this path of first-round picks. Oh, we got 3 first-round picks. Sooner or later, you have to be a big boy franchise and be a man's team and have veterans and be a veteran teams. If you look at a veteran team that wins the cup, folks, or makes it far in the playoffs, there's only usually 1 or 2 rookies on that team, or maybe 1 rookie and maybe 1 rookie that comes in and out of the lineup. The reason why this team hasn't been successful a lot is because there are 3 or 4 young first or second year guys where veteran teams are with each other a long time. Maybe a first or second year guy here or there that jumps. And this team is all young guys. So I have no problem adding some veterans, some men kind of to this team because I'm so sick of every year. We're the youngest team in the league. No, come on. Let's start moving forward.
Yeah, eventually you got to start cashing in on some of the potential.
Because Sam, one thing about these draft picks, for every good Sillinger, there's a Liam Foudy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
There's
for
2.
Every good pick. 2. Yeah, you're right. So
let's be real. Like I think Yarmo was good in trades and stuff, but he gets credit for hitting on some draft picks, but he also whiffed on some. People tend to forget about.
Tons of picks. This organization let Yarmo stay probably 3 years too. When Torts got fired, Yarmo should have got fired.
Yeah, he should have gone with Tortorella.
And you shouldn't have let him name 2 coaches after that.
Agreed.
Ridiculous.
Agree.
But that's your ownership. Ownership, not good. They'll look good now, but not because they're good. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I know what you're saying.
Sam, we're back Monday, right?
Yes, sir.
We're back Monday. We'll see you then, live at 3. Remember, hit like right now. Hit subscribe. Want you to win stuff. All right. Have a good weekend, everybody. Hey, are you going? By the way, you going with me to the cigar bar Saturday?
No, I think I'm going to try to go to the hockey game. I was going to tell you that, but we got off on tangents.
All right. It's all good. All right. See you, buddy.
Appreciate it, though.
Well, of course. I mean, there's nothing better than being American. So, I mean, this is the greatest feeling. If you don't love it, leave it. USA, #1.